Hello dear 4th graders. Today we will begin with chapter number 2, subject and predicate. So before I begin, I would like to take the pledge. I commit to be vigilant and bear in mind at all times the risk to myself and my colleagues from COVID-19. I promise to take all necessary precautions that prevent the spread of this deadly virus. I promise to follow and encourage others to follow the key COVID appropriate behaviors. To always wear a mask, face cover, especially when in public places, to maintain a minimum distance of 6 feet from others, to wash my hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water. Together, we will win this fight against COVID-19. Dear students, please open your books at page number 7, chapter number 2, subject and predicate. So before we begin, let us understand this. A sentence is a combination of a subject and a predicate. For example, let's take one sentence, I am a girl. Now this is a complete sentence. And now this is a combination of a subject and predicate. Subject is always present before the verb. So here verb is am. So verb से पहले जो है वो हमारा subject होगा. Except in interrogative sentences. Interrogative sentences में verb से पहले subject नहीं होगा. Let's take one example. Am I a girl? Now this is an interrogative sentence. So the subject will be present after the verb. So verb is am और उसके बाद जो present है वो हमारा होगा subject. And predicate. So if I is subject, the rest of the sentence is called predicate. Similarly here, if I is the subject, the rest of the sentence is predicate. So let's begin. The part of the sentence that tells us who or what the sentence is about is called the subject. So सेंटेंस का वो पार्ट जो हमें बताए कि किसके बारे में बात हो रही है उसको सब्जेक्ट बोलेंगे हम. द सब्जेक्ट परफॉर्म्स द एक्शन डिनोटेड बाय द वर्ब. द रेस्ट ऑफ द सेंटेंस इज कॉल्ड द प्रेडिकेट. द प्रेडिकेट कंटेन्स द वर्ब. So let's move to the exercise A. Identify the subject and the predicate in these sentences. The first sentence is the baby sleeps in its crib. Here, sleeps is the form of verb. So what comes before this verb? The baby. So the baby is the subject and the rest of the sentence is predicate. The man loves riding a horse. Loves is the form of verb. So the man is the subject and loves riding a horse becomes the predicate. Jaya is very hardworking. So is the form of verb. So Jaya is subject and is very hardworking becomes the predicate. Rohan loves his pet. Loves is the form of verb here. So इससे पहले यहाँ पे क्या है? रोहन. So रोहन होगा subject. Loves his pet becomes the predicate. The sun was shining brightly. Was is the form of verb. So इससे पहले है the sun. So the sun is the subject and was shining brightly is the predicate. Ravi is a good boy. Is the form of verb. So Ravi is the subject and is a good boy becomes the predicate. Mohan likes to play cricket. Likes is the form of verb. So what is placed before this verb? Mohan. So Mohan is subject and likes to play cricket is the predicate. The deer runs very fast. Runs is the form of verb. So the deer is the subject and runs very fast is the predicate. Trees shed their leaves in the winter. Now, shed is the form of verb and what is placed before this? Trees. So, trees is the subject and shed their leaves in the winter is the predicate. He was going to win the contest. Was is the form of verb and he is the subject was going to win the contest becomes the predicate. Let's move to exercise B. Match the subject to the predicate. So this is the column in which subject is given, and in this column we are provided with the predicate and we have to match them accordingly. The first is the shops. We will match it with G. The shops were selling beautiful clothes. H is the students were excited about the school trip. The crowd was shouting and throwing stones. The car crashed against the tree. The house, we will match it with the C, had many rooms in it. The furniture, we have matched it with E, was made of teak wood. My mother, we have matched this with F, works very hard. The book tells us about a prince and a princess. So, in most sentences, the subject usually comes before the verb. For example, you have broken my pencil. Form of verb is have and subject is before the verb, you. I am going to the US next month. Am going is the form of verb and subject comes before the verb, which is I. My coat is red. Is the form of verb and subject comes before it, which is my coat. In imperative sentences, the subject is implied. For example, please you sit down. So as you know, imperative sentences are those in which a command request is made. So here, please sit down is a request and there is no particular subject given here. So you have to write the subject yourself. So in most of the cases, we take you as the subject in an imperative sentence. Take the second example. Don't make a noise. So again, the subject will be you that we have taken ourselves. हमें खुद से यहाँ पे एक लेना पड़ेगा subject. In such sentences, it is understood that someone, the subject, is being spoken to. In exclamatory sentences, the subject comes before the verb. For example, what a great singer she is. Now this is an exclamatory sentence. Form of verb is and the subject comes before the verb. So the subject will be she. What an awful dream I had last night. The form of verb is had and the subject comes before the verb. So the subject is I. What in some sentences the subject does not come before the verb. In interrogative sentences, the subject comes after the verb. This we have taken already. For example, are you ready to go? Form of verb is are. Because this is an interrogative sentence, so subject will come after the verb. So, you will be the subject. Where are the cupcakes? Form of verb is are and the subject is after the verb, which is the cupcakes. Let's move to exercise C. Underline the subject and circle the predicate in the following sentences. So we will underline the subject and circle the predicate. Remember, all sentences may not have a subject. So let's take first. Rajasthan is a beautiful state. So subject will come before the verb. So is the form of verb and Rajasthan will be subject. And is a beautiful state becomes the predicate. I love to listen to music. Now love is the form of verb and subject will come before the verb. So I is the subject and love to listen to the music, which is the rest of the sentence, is predicate. We celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ on Christmas Day. So celebrate is the form of verb and subject comes before the verb. So we is the subject and celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ on Christmas Day becomes the predicate. The speeding truck knocked the old man down. Knocked is the form of verb. So before the verb, the speeding truck is subject. Knocked the old man down becomes the predicate. They played football in the rain. Played is the form of verb, and what comes before the verb? They. So they is the subject and played football in the rain becomes the predicate. India has won 8 gold medals in hockey at the Olympics. Now has is the form of verb, and before the verb comes the subject, which is India. So has won 8 gold medals in hockey at the Olympics, जो कि rest of the sentence है वो बन जाएगा predicate. A chameleon is a lizard that can change its color. This is a chameleon that can change its color. So is the form of verb, and before the form of verb comes the subject, which is a chameleon. The rest of the sentence is predicate. Who is the President of India? Now this is an interrogative sentence. So the subject here is before the verb. You have to be careful about this, that in this sentence only the subject comes before the verb. So who is the subject, and the rest of the sentence is predicate. Police dogs are trained to track criminals down. Now are is the form of verb. So before this form of verb comes the subject, which is police dogs. The rest of the sentence is predicate. Switch off the lights. Now this is a command, which means this is an imperative sentence. So in imperative sentences we have to imply one subject, which is you. So you will be subject here, and the rest of the sentence is predicate. Last exercise, identify the subject in each of the sentences. We have to identify the subject only. Now, can I call you after lunch? Now this is an interrogative sentence, and in an interrogative sentence the subject comes after the verb. Can I? So can is the form of verb. So after the verb comes the subject. So I is the subject here. Did you do your homework? Now did is the form of verb. So after the verb comes the subject in an interrogative sentence only. Now would you like some ice cream? Again one interrogative sentence. So the subject will be after the verb. So would is the form of verb, and after would we have the subject you. Stop. Now this is a short command, which means this is an imperative sentence. So in an imperative sentence the subject is always you. Don't walk on the grass. Now again this is a command, which means this is again an imperative sentence. So again the subject will be you. Revati is going to the mall. So this is a simple sentence. So first of all we will identify the verb. Verb is. So the subject comes before the verb. So Revati will be the subject. I am tired. Am is the form of verb and subject comes before the verb. So I is the subject here. Come here at once. Now again this is a command, which means this is an imperative sentence. So the subject will be you. Will Sandy go with you? One interrogative sentence. So in an interrogative sentence the subject comes after the verb. So will is the form of verb and Sandy will be the subject. Tell Naveen I am waiting here. Now this is again a command. Tell Naveen I am waiting here. So the subject will be you. Stand on your head. Again this is a command. So this is an imperative sentence and the subject will be you. How talented these children are! Exclamation mark. So this is an exclamatory sentence, and in an exclamatory sentence the subject comes before the verb. So verb is are, and before this verb the subject is these children. Does the dog love its master? Interrogative sentence. So the subject will come after the verb. So does is the form of verb and the subject is the dog. The scientists are studying these whales. Simple sentence. So the subject will come before the verb. So verb is are and the subject is the scientist. What a splendid boat it is. An exclamatory sentence. So the subject will come before the verb. Is the form of verb and the subject is it. So that's all, dear students. Do this work on your book only, and all the best.